Hello everyone, this is candidate master Victor Neustroev, and now I want to analyze the game played in the first round of our online tournament between Michael Sherman and Yashu Sreeram. So Yashu is 9 years old. She's a girl living in UK, and at the same time she's a quite experienced player. She already participated in European Chess Championship among girls of her age. But Michael is also an experienced student. He played a few tournaments, but he doesn't really have so much practice as Yashu. But anyway, he plays really strong from time to time. Okay, what happened in the game? d4, knight f6, c4 and e6, knight c3. That was an attempt to play Ninja Indian defense, and I don't really understand why Yashu didn't play bishop b4, or she could play pawn to b6. This is Queen's Indian defense. She knows both these lines, but for some reason decided to play c5. d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, d6, e4, and now we came to Benoni defense. This is a modern variation. Maybe you may also know this line as King's Pawn line of Benoni defense. Bishop e7, bishop d3. I'm not sure that this is the best square for the bishop, but why not? And here knight b to d7. As I see, Yashu plays this position for the first time. That's why she doesn't know where to locate this knight. On d7, it's definitely not the best position, of course. She wants to come to e5 with her knight and attack the bishop, and so use this square. But in this position, just f4 can be played, and this is how white can stop this activity. Moreover, after knight f3 castle, white is threatening to play e4, e5, and have two strong pawns in the center, maybe then d6, and even trap the bishop on a7. What to do in this position instead of knight d7? Of course, castle. Then maybe knight e2, knight f3. That doesn't really matter because the plan is similar for black. It's knight a6, knight c7 with the idea to play a6, b5. For example, a3, rook e8, knight g3, which is not really the best option, I believe. Then a6 with the idea to play b5. Here white dominates in the center, he gets the space, and black should compensate it with some queenside activity. However, it didn't happen in the game. Knight d7 was played instead, and instead of f4 that should be played by white, white just played knight f3, another ordinary move. Castle, castle, a6. Of course, in this position, I believe everyone would play a4 to stop b5 activity, and that would make really much sense. What to do then? Knight d2, knight c4 to control e5 square, a5, then f4 with the idea to advance the e-pawn forward. I believe Michael plays this position for the first time, and of course at that moment he didn't understand which plan to choose, and he played h3. That's a mistake because it allows black to play b5. a4 should be played, then for example rook b8, and in this position of course we want to play a5, but there is no threat, so b5 cannot be played right now. That's why we have enough time to play h3 to stop knight g4 activity. If b5 now, then we take a takes, then knight takes on b5. What if knight e4 now? How would you play? Here we have two good moves that can help us to get extra material. One of them is just to take on e4, let black take on b5, but then sacrifice on h7. Looks similar to what Valery played in his game that we already analyzed, but here the idea of this move is different. We don't want to give a checkmate. There is no knight g5 option. We just want to give a check on d3 and win this rook. Another option in this position is just to play knight e7 and threaten with two options: knight c6, fork, and bishop takes on e4. However, Michael played h3 and allowed black to play b5, b3 to stop c4, bishop b7. I don't really think that bishop is doing much on this position. Rook e1, queen e5. Again, here Yashu demonstrates misunderstanding of this position. Bishop d2, threatening to take on b5. Queen has to retreat. Bishop c2. Again, I don't understand this move. Maybe black decided, maybe black wanted to play c4. But then bishop c2 can be played after c4. Maybe, okay. No, I don't understand. So if c4, b takes c4, b takes c4, then bishop c2 can be played if needed. Moreover, I'm not sure that c4 is a good move. Of course, it allows the knight to come to c5, but at the same time, black gives the d4 square for white knight. Okay, rook f e8, and this is where Michael struggled with the plan, and of course I understand his idea to play knight h2 to be able to play f4. Right, this is what actually happened in the game. Maybe it's not the best plan. One of the best ideas is to play knight e2, then get the knight to g3, then do something like this, bishop b5 to pin, with the idea to play finally e5. Maybe to get something like this. But the idea to play f4 e5 is another plan. The task was just to find what is better. Okay, knight h2 is not a bad move, just a small inaccuracy. Here knight e5. I don't really understand the idea of this move, because after f4 the knight has to move once again, and I'm not sure that g6 is the best spot for it. What would I do? I would play bishop f8. Why? It's obvious that the bishop is restricted, moreover it closes the rook. Bishop f8 with the idea to play g6 and bishop g7 definitely improves black position, especially when you notice that this main diagonal is open, and if white loses a few tempers, black may find some X-ray attack, maybe even a tactical strike. Okay, knight e5, f4, knight g6, then there are several plans. Queen f3, g4, then maybe g4 immediately, maybe just rook c1 with the idea to play positionally, just improve the rook location, maybe with the idea to open the c file later. I don't know. Here I believe white is playing on the king side. That's why queen f3 to get the queen closer to support all these pawns, then g4, g5, something like that. But f5 was played. This is a mistake. Why? Because the knight goes back to e5. Bishop f4, another mistake. But then black played inaccuracy, bishop f8, which is not obligatory in this position. For example, any move could be played, because this is not a threat. Because then d takes on e5, and the d6 spot can be occupied with one of the pieces, maybe with this knight. Okay. Anyway, bishop f8, knight f3 was played, knight h5. Here, of course, bishop d2 should be played, but Michael decided to take on e5, and I believe here he made a mistake. Why? Because this bishop was the only good bishop in this position. while the other white bishop is a bad piece. It's restricted by own pawns. As for black position, this bishop doesn't participate in the game because of the d5 pawn, and I don't believe that in the nearest future this pawn can be removed. As for this bishop, it can be improved by playing g6, bishop g7, but when the pawn is on f5, I believe g6 is not in black favor, maybe only in some certain positions. So that was a mistake. Then knight g5. Maybe not a mistake, but inaccuracy. Okay, here knight f6 of course should be played, and then this knight only stops the g pawn. But knight f4 was played, and g3 now can be played, and the knight is trapped. That's why here black has to play f6. G takes f4, f takes on g5, and f4 takes g5. This is how white got extra pawn. So you see here knight f4 was a mistake, because after this move the knight is trapped. The only thing that black can do is to attack this knight, and if this knight retreats, then knight h3, knight g5. But white can just take the knight and then take the pawn. Okay, here black should look for some counterplay. That's why maybe c4 with the idea to activate the bishop, or maybe to get the queen to c5, or with the idea just to open the c file and get this counterplay with two pieces, rook and queen. However, Yashu didn't notice it, and she played bishop c8, the move that doesn't really make any sense because it attacks the pawn on e5 that is protected. Maybe this move prevents white from playing f6. h4, bishop d6. Oh, here of course queen f3, then king h1, rook goes to g1, the other rook goes to f1. This is how I would play, because I don't really see what black can do to improve his position. Okay, h5, bishop d7, another move that is not logical. What would I suggest? If black sees that black needs to protect the 7th rank, then maybe rook a7. Of course, this is not the best move here. c4, something like that should be played to get any counterplay. Okay, bishop d7, rook f1, rook f8, rook f2, another inaccuracy. Instead, just king h2, rook g1, and so on. Or maybe just rook f3 to triple on the f file. Queen d8 was played. Okay, if this move is played, then maybe rook g2 just to protect the pawn, and play queen g4, rook f1, and successfully prepare to initiate a breakout on the king side. But instead, f6 was played immediately. I don't understand this move, because then rook f6 and white lost the pawn. Rook g2, check. And then king h8 was played, so I don't really understand the idea of this move, because king on h8 is better than on g8. Maybe white just didn't want to trade the rooks. Queen d3. Queen d3 is another strange move. Maybe queen e2, queen d2, but why queen d3? But now I don't understand. So of course I understand here this move with the idea to play queen g3 to threaten a checkmate on g7. But here black should understand that to save the king's position, black should use his queen, queen e7, and then maybe the other rook, so the queen should be closer to the king. But instead queen b6 was played with a very transparent threat to play c4. No, of course queen g3, because that was the plan. Nobody cares about c4. And in this position, I want you to play the best move, after which white can win the game. Unfortunately, Michael didn't find this move. Instead, he played another move. Probably he considered them both to be approximately equal, but no, only one wins. He played king h1. What's wrong with this move? If king h2, which looks almost the same as king h1, then black needs somehow to protect on g7, rook f7 is the only move. And then rook f1 can be played to distract. And if now black rook takes on f1, this is not a check. And then white can play queen g7 checkmate. So how to play? Rook a7, for example, but then just queen f3, threatening with two checkmates on f6 and on f8. And this is where black should resign. There is no defense. But instead of king h2, king h1 was played. Rook f7, rook a to g1, queen d8, h6, queen f8, queen g7, queen takes on g7, h takes on g7, king g8, then bishop d1. Here black is slightly better. How to play in this position? Just rook c8 with the idea to take on b3, to open this file, to get the rook involved. Yes, g7 is a strong pawn, but at the same time there is nothing that white can do right now. So it should be fine. But instead, Yashu played bishop h3. The move that contains immediate threat to take the rook, but doesn't make any sense in longer perspective. Bishop d7, bishop h5, rook f4, threatening to play this move, then king g2, and bishop c5. Of course, I understand the idea to activate the bishop, but why not this move, to play c3 on the next move and create a distant and protected passed pawn? Knight e2, rook h4, taking the bishop, rook h1, trade, and then c3. That's my idea. Here black is better. Bishop c5, rook f1, and rook h4. For some reason I don't understand what's wrong. Maybe Yashu had just a few minutes left, or maybe she just didn't notice bishop f7 checkmate. I believe in this game she could win, but because of this last blunder she lost the whole game. Okay, anyway, I wish good luck to her. I believe in the next game she can play much better.